This is Taven Brainies, 13 years old, lying in a hospital bed with a bullet in his head and with less than a 5% chance to live. Doctors do everything they can to save his life. Taven suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound, attempting to end his own life. I met the Brainies family back in 2021 to tell their son's story. At the time, Taven was one of the many teenagers in America who attempted to take their own lives during the COVID era, where governors across the country imposed some of the strictest school shutdown policies. And for young teenagers, life with no social life, school, and sports led to many falling into depression.
We have been telling the school district for months and months that we have a mental health crisis. In our neighborhood, a 13-year-old boy walked out in the desert near our home and blew his brains out.
I finally got to travel to Arizona earlier this month to meet Taven for the first time to finish telling his story. He is now 18 years old and living a regular teenage life. And throughout the years, I've always wanted to finish Taven's story when I first told it back in 2021, but never got the opportunity, but felt like now was the right time.
The moment you react, you're vilified, you're demonized. And I'll tell you something, we, a little coffee shop, we had people coming to us saying, our kids are committing suicide because of these policies, because they're being isolated and ostracized, because in some cases they can't medically wear a mask.
I've suffered from migraines, but ever since I've been wearing a mask, it started to happen more often.
Then people come to me and say, I'm deaf or hearing impaired. I'm depressed because now my world is completely silent.
Now, in my perspective, it's important to continue to tell this story because those in power back in 2020 that made these decisions to close down schools without any science or evidence to back that up, not only destroyed countless of young American lives, but quite literally eroded the last piece of credibility and trust they even had with the American public.
I've had people come and say, I was abused and raped and a hand held over my face, and I can't tolerate something on my face. That's what happened at Micah Mountain. A boy jumped off the top of the bleachers and killed himself. A boy had a speech that he wanted to give about his classmate and tell them what they're doing. And he was denied the ability to speak because they shut down that meeting. And then they portrayed us as violent and hostile. Over 200 parents came to speak, to say, you are hurting our children. No child has died of COVID in this county. And somehow, we're the bad guys.
What will you cling to now? Is it your pride, the money, or the control? Vail is still a small community, even though we're well known now thanks to all of you. I think you should ask yourselves if this is really the proverbial hill you want your names and reputations to die on. Speaking of reputations, I, along with 62,000 plus Vail residents, received this free magazine, Vail Style. For those of you that throw it out with your junk mail, it's an advertisement magazine. Nearly everything in it is a form of paid advertisement, even if it's made to look like journalism. This month, there was part one of an interview, if you can call it that, with John Carruth. The soft pitch interview that was done by one of the owners of the magazine, and it left me wondering, Mr. Carruth, was that a paid for interview, or was that in trade so that you could improve your image among 62,000 plus and the magazine in turn appreciate you? Regardless, I find the people in this room, the letters to the editor, and the op-ed in the Vail Voice from this month much more telling of how many people think of you in this community. It's time to end mandatory masking and the mitigation policies. Rightly returning parents of choice to decide what's best for medically for their children.
Next time.
But most importantly, while everyone has moved on from the story, the families impacted from that era, they still haven't. One of those families that still hasn't moved on is the Davis family from New Mexico. This is Cooper Davis. He was a junior in high school in 2021. He was 17 years old, loved hanging out with his friends and family, going to church, but he absolutely loved football and couldn't wait to play in college. But everything Cooper loved about life was taken away from him when the governor in his state imposed one of the strictest school shutdown policies in the entire country. Cooper, like some of his friends in his community, would end up taking his own life.
We've told the school district, we've told John Carruth, we've reported these stories, we've done Freedom Talk videos from a family whose child was put on suicide watch.
Mask on, and I said no, I would not have a mask on. And they got Mr. Donaldson. He came out and talked to us, and he said that he did not care that he was breaking the law. We have a policy, go follow the lawsuit. And I was severely mad. I just wanted to walk in there and take school because I felt my education is more than a policy. A stupid policy to wear a stupid cloth over my face so I can have anxiety and lose a social life. Because students should not be able to go through this. This is wrong. You are hurting everyone. I don't care if your parents say that this is good for you. You know deep down inside, you are wrong and they are wrong. You should fight.
Let me tell you something. No mother should ever have to put their child on suicide watch. I had to do that for this young man. Every night I went in and I went into his room, not to say just I love you and I care about you and I hope you make it to tomorrow, but to go, I'm afraid for you. That should not happen in this community. This should not happen in society in general. As our children's mental health is struggling and deteriorating.
I followed Cooper's story since 2021, and his family is still feeling the pain to this day. This is why Taven's story is so important, because he's still here today to tell it. Please stay tuned later this week when I release the full Taven Brainey's story. It's a powerful one.
We went to protect a child who had been forced to take a mask out of the garbage and put it on his face. It was quarantined with no test and no reason. For the third time, what we did is we called the police.
If they don't comply with the law, we're going to call the sheriff and ask for them to be arrested. We're just coming in to talk first.
And we wanted to report child abuse. And the police said, you're right, they are breaking the law, but we're not going to come out as too controversial. And this is on a principle. People have come to me that they said she's locked kids in closets and forgot about them. Story after story. I had a sheriff's lieutenant come and say, I remember that. And he's gotten in touch with the school resource officer who is now in Texas. And I wrote about that as part of my job. The massive increase in domestic abuse, suicide, all of these things is because of how this has been mismanaged. A pandemic has never, ever been managed like this before. And that's the tragedy. And that's where the school boards need to pay attention and listen. Because they have driven some parents to the point of desperation. Because when your kids are put on suicide watch and nobody will change, and you go because people have gone to school board meeting after school board meeting, including kids saying, you've got to have some balance in this. And they look at you with no expression on their faces. That's tyranny.
I'm wondering why I'm here again. I shouldn't be here again. Why do I have to re-speak myself? That just tells me that you weren't listening the first time. So I'm going to re-go once again, because you don't decide to listen. Are you listening? That's a question.
I understand.
Thank you. I'm going to start off with students' mental health. Now, we felt depressed, sad, upset because we don't have social life or peer support. That's wrong. You are trying to control us with a tool. Instead of adding counseling, why don't you just remove the tool or make it optional to use that tool? Because counseling's not going to do anything for me, nor any of the other students, because we already have counselors. And if those counselors haven't talked to us, then they should be fired. And that's wrong. They should hear the students out and try to get it to you. Now, peer support is very important, because if we don't have that, we're depressed and suicides happen. And that is wrong. Do you like death? Do you like dying? Or do you like having kids die? Because that is what you're doing, and that is wrong. And you already know that. And yet you still decide to do it. I don't know why you still decide to do it. That's your choice. Now, I say that policy is not over law. Law states that we and our parents have a choice to do what we want in our education. So why are we having a policy trump that law? That law is very important and it is set in stone, in paper. So why is a policy that you made up in 1 year controlling everything? That is wrong. This is why we are trying to kick you out, so we have someone to actually listen to us, not you.
We've had to endure some people gossiping locally, thinking that me, a father of five, a guy who served a year as a volunteer teacher in Sri Lanka, would actually go and do something so foul. No, we didn't go to harass innocent school staff. We went to protect our children. And we have a duty to do that.
Who's going to believe a school mom is a terrorist? I mean, honestly.
My response is somebody who was a journalist and has a master's degree in terrorism. So my response, as well as the whole DOJ, was, we know shame the terrorists.